Who is behind the decisions that affect the future of entire generations? How can we engage in dialogues with them? Do we need to listen to them for them to listen to us? Being young and trying to understand the corporate world can be tricky. But remember, the youth of today will become the CEOs of tomorrow. We aim to initiate conversations with decision makers amidst the ecological and climate crisis to build bridges towards future challenges. Join us on this journey as we unravel the complexities of the climate puzzle in order to find the missing pieces and build the sustainable future for generations to come. Welcome to the Climate Puzzle.
Welcome to the Climate Puzzle, the podcast where we unravel the complexities of our changing climate and the role of influential leaders in shaping a sustainable future. Today we have the honour of hosting Elena Morettini, who has had a long career in the energy industry, particularly in research, design and development. Elena is currently the director of Globant's Sustainable Business Study and also the president of the Energy Transition Commission of the Argentine Institute of Oil and Gas. Elena holds a PhD in isotope geochemistry and a bachelor's degree in geology. In January 2022, she founded Because Energy Matters, a knowledge company specialized in strategic consulting on sustainability, climate change policy, climate finance, and sustainable organizations. Due to her wealth of experience and professional career, we are delighted to have Elena join us today. Welcome, Elena.
Thank you very much, Razann. Very nice to be here with you.
Before we dive into the climate-related matters, I'd love to learn more about you, and perhaps if you could share a story about what shaped your perspective of the world.
Well, I think that we really need to shape a world based on equity or equality and inclusion. So that is what moves me every day in everything I do, and definitely sustainability has inclusion and diversity and inclusion, of course, as one of the verticals that can pioneer such a big shift in our economic and financial systems.
Definitely. And just on that, so your educational background was in geology and geochemistry. So how did you become interested in the business world, and what really led to your position now as director of Globant Sustainable Business Study?
My PhD actually dealt with climate modeling, so I've always been working on paleoclimate because I'm a geologist, so modeling actually different scenarios of the Jurassic world at that time. I think we all know about the Jurassic for different reasons. And as from there, so the basically building scenarios has a lot to deal with a different type of mindset, which is that of understanding what simulations can actually bring forward and understanding different situations in which we really want to simulate scenarios and different outcomes, right? So that is very much in common between anything that we simulate from a scientific point of view to everything that we can actually simulate in terms of economic scenarios. But the business world, and specifically the private world, I think that large industries and large businesses do move the world in terms of course, impact in jobs and ways of working. So I think that from the private sector, especially working in large organizations, we have an incredible possibility of reaching out and have an impact on very many I don't want to say lives, but definitely lifestyles. So, for example, when we opened up the Diversity and Inclusion Committee in the previous energy company where I worked before opening up the startup, as you reminded before, we changed the license for paternity, I think, from 1 day to 7 days. And when you have basically a workforce of 70,000 people, well, that may mean easily that you're actually having an impact on 30,000 families. So that is where big numbers of the industry are of interest to me. And of course, the public world can reach out even more, right? But today, I do really believe that there is a very strong integration need between private, public, and civil society. So what we used to say in Argentina, it's 2 to tango. I think it needs to be changed into a 3 to tango. And that 3 to tango can really move the world.
For sure, and it's really inspiring to hear what you've done in your previous company. So moving on to what you're doing at Globant, for example, We know that the science says that we must limit temperature degree warming to, say, 2 degrees by 2030. What do you think is the role of the private sector in helping to achieve this?
Humongous. The private sector, I mean, I think that it's really important to make an initial statement that may seem very basic, but I think that moves everything else, which is the fact that every project we choose to perform, to do, as you can think of anything in real terms of in the making, has a financial budget and has a CO2 budget. So if we establish that absolute parallelism between a financial budget and a CO2 budget, we will easily understand that we will have to choose all those projects that if for example, we want to give more relevance to the financial impact, at the same level of finance need, will actually produce a smaller carbon footprint. So basically, we can decide on which project to focus based on a smaller impact or a less negative impact or externality it can have on environment, on society, and on governance. So if we start giving relevance, exactly the same relevance to financial and non-financial parameters, this is not Elena saying that, this is Kofi Annan 2004, and we're really thankful to that report, which used to basically has marked our north in terms of who cares wins. It is really like that, who cares wins. So you win from a financial point of view by using non-financial parameters that actually can shape all your project. So to me, that is what the private sector has to have in mind in every single decision we make.
Yeah, for sure. And just moving on to that point, around understanding, say, the monetary value. We're seeing a lot of changes now in terms of global reporting and, say, climate finance reporting frameworks. I believe that Globant has recently defined as climate risks using something, as you obviously will know, the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. So how do you think understanding your climate risks within Globant will really shape your activities now and in the future?
To me, that is the compass. The compass is the TCFD, the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosure, and all its updates, all its larger or smaller complexity, depending on how the governance of a company can actually take on board something as complex as the climate financial disclosure, is the North. It's the North because it defines your opportunities and your risks. So today, because of supply chain, because of climate change, because of the disruption that actually our supply chain can experience because of climate physical risk, if you do not have those tools as your risk management and opportunity management, you're really becoming obsolete because you're not considering what the outside world in terms of physical aspects can actually impact your supply chain, and also your transition to a low carbon economy can create in terms of Minsky effect. We know very well that we need to take care of those transitions in a very ordered and orderly manner, otherwise the risk is indeed that would strand some of the businesses, and that would imply consequences in terms of jobs and in terms of course, GDP. So we really need to be careful about that, but we really need to start incorporating carbon pricing, climate physical risk, transition risks as risks and opportunity metrics within any of our business, including, of course, our technological industry.
Yeah, of course. And then moving on to that, so what do you believe the role of technology has in really helping companies to drive their climate ambitions?
I don't want to sound too absolute in my answers, but I think that technology has a paramount role to play because of a very simple reason. So we talked about CO2 budget, and now we need to talk about time. If there is one commodity that we do not have, it's time. So technology is the tool that can actually accelerate everything, bring everything to scale. So we also have the possibility of testing, which technology in terms of scenarios, as we were saying before, can actually accelerate more our decarbonization path. So once we've decided which is the technology that is most appropriate for our decarbonization paths, we really need to apply it and wait for, as fast as we can, at scale results and be able to basically decarbonize the majority of the activities that we perform.
Yeah, for sure. And so within the technology that you use, are you using, say, technology in artificial intelligence or blockchain? And are there any cases of where Globant has implemented this?
Oh yeah, we implement that every day. What my role is somehow as a gatekeeper is not only to understand how AI can find faster solutions for ESG implementation and for climate tech, but also understanding what is the environmental impact of AI. So AI, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, mining, all of those activities that are really stepping forward and bringing for sure our solution-oriented technology one step further. We also need to calculate the somehow other side of the envelope of understanding what is behind. We need to really flip that technology and understand what is behind there in terms of CO2 emissions. And we're doing that. We really take care, and in that respect, the company is very permeable. We really need to have those numbers of CO2 impact for every activity we develop. So the new technology, we work a lot on digital sobriety and green IT, needs always to come along with a consciousness on energy KPI that we're actually using for producing certain technology. So any technology that is very much energy consuming, needs to have those numbers calculated, and we need to calculate the CO2 coming from our energy consumption. So yes, we use AI to find solutions and accelerate climate tech and sustainable tech, but at the same time, we need to understand the impact of AI modeling on our footprint. And we're doing that.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's a brilliant point. I think that's probably in most of our daily lives, we probably don't have an accurate view on, what is my carbon footprint just from, say, my phone or, the technology I use for work. So it's fantastic to see that Globant is looking into that. In terms of, say, the challenges that clients face, why are they coming to Globant, and what's the technology that they're really leveraging to overcome their challenges?
Well, the answer to this is a bit complex in the sense that many of our clients are very mature in terms of sustainability strategies. Others are just starting. So you really need to be careful on the as-is of a company in respect to sustainability. My tendency, being an optimistic person, is that one of not trying to scare anybody on the other side. So I really want to have them on board more than have them away from me, because what we're proposing, it's either difficult or because the as-is somehow negative. So I tend to say that communication has a very big role in this. We really need to communicate to our clients, not only from Globant, but in the B2C type of model, that we are starting moving on sustainability. We're starting taking on board our responsibility of emissions and be able to communicate that in a somehow reassuring way. So to me, communication is possibly the first step in which you really want to engage possible and future clients as a business model, but especially make sure that your partners know what is needed to be communicated today in terms of sustainability. There is no barricade, there is no sage on stage. We're all on the same side of things, and we really need to move on, even if at different paces, but we all need to make sure that we're moving on. So there is no leaving anybody behind just because their industry is less green than others. I want everybody on board, especially the most polluting ones.
Of course, that sounds fantastic. And so when it comes to innovation, I know that Globant has, identified an ESG plus I approach. Yeah. Can you tell us more about the addition of the I to the ESG and its importance?
Well, I've already revealed a part of it, that is indeed understanding the emissions that are behind any new technology that we use, because we really need to have the creation of awareness on us. I want to be the one that is solving as much as I can the problem of blindness in respect to emissions, in respect to energy consumption and KPI. So for me and for us, and innovation, it's always bringing in as much disclosure and transparency as possible in respect to ESG, and that I stands for innovation and stands for the inclusion we were talking at the beginning. We need everybody on board in this. And it doesn't matter how reluctant or resistant that everybody means. We really need to make an effort to convince, explain, advocate for, sometimes even eventually get a little bit passionate about it, depending on the table you're sitting at. So really being calibrating the message, because as I said before, we do not want anybody to be scared. We want everybody to stay on board, and that is also part of an innovative way of doing business. It's not you and us. It's everybody together, because atmosphere, it's only one. Planet, so far it's one. I mean, there are many others, but planet for humans at the moment, it's only this one. So there is a need to understand that only together we can thrive on this. So no clients needs to be on the other side of the barricade. No partner needs to be on the other side of the barricade. And I think that is somehow an innovative message, especially at this times of cooperation.
For sure, that's fantastic. And just in terms of, say you mentioned convincing, so what do you think are the biggest barriers for companies they're starting their sustainability? What do you think the biggest barriers are for them in moving towards, okay, let's implement technology? Or how, I think sometimes it's difficult for clients to start. Where do you believe they should start, and how best to do that?
I think that everybody needs to understand that calculating our scope 1 and 2 emissions is absolutely easy, and we need to get those numbers right, because we need to compensate for those emissions. That is just a matter of having somebody putting in order your data in respect to electricity bills, for example. So that is really a simple first step that everybody, so now when we talk about electricity bills, it becomes more easy to understand that everybody has an electricity bill, no matter if you're a lawyer firm or if you are a manufacturer. Your bills will be different, but you have to pay your bills, and your electricity consumption is there. So that is an initial starting point where it's very easy for all of us to understand that our carbon footprint comes from energy first. I mean, when we talk about a climate problem, it's an energy problem, first of all. So climate means energy problem, first of all, and we all know that we need to solve that first. So the message is, it is simple to start calculating those carbon numbers. We really need to start doing that, and then we will pass on into calculating today, absolutely necessary, a water footprint, a plastic footprint, and every footprint that actually has a mark or a sign on the planet, on the society, and on the governance of the industries we work on or the organization we work in.
Yeah, amazing. And just in terms of, so you mentioned within the ESG plus I, say the inclusion aspect, have you seen that the younger generation within Globant are really pushing towards actioning on sustainability? Are they looking at, when say in the hiring process, are they looking at what companies are doing in order to then choose where they want to work?
Well, if you ask me, again, I don't want to exaggerate parameters, but if you ask me today, one of the highest talent retention is what is a certain company doing in terms of engagement in respect to climate change and sustainability. So I see a lot of questions coming to us in respect to what Globant is doing, and Globant, being a native digital company, has always been doing a lot in respect to sustainability, but definitely talent is related to our activity, clear activity, no greenwashing in respect to climate tech and sustainability. And there is one thing that I tend to say in every one of the forums in which I'm called to somehow give my opinion, which is, please, please, please do not think that we are on two opposite sides of a barricade. There is no barricade in between. We've been the same activists or convinced people 30 years ago, and possibly if the world would have listened to us at that point, maybe we would be a little bit better off in respect to our Agenda 2030. But do not see the world as being divided into the young ones and the less young ones, because first of all, there is a lot of expertise that we can bring about. There is a lot of experience that can actually save a lot of time. And as I said before, atmosphere is one. We all breathe under the same. And it's not because young people will have to live longer on this planet. They're more interested in what we are in making and living this planet as a good place for them. We're definitely all on the same side, and we need to be. We need to sum up. We do not need a delta. We do not need to subtract your energy from mine. It's exactly the opposite. We really need to work in a very cooperative way. And again, not enough to say about it. If the world would cooperate on the larger issues and bigger problems, definitely we would have a different situation at the moment that, again, we cannot guarantee for the younger generation. So it is very important that we think that together we can make it. If we don't do this together, it is very difficult that we will find a solution in time and form or manner to basically keep on experiencing these beautiful days and beautiful outdoor situations.
Of course, definitely a collective need, across the different sectors, government, youth, everyone. Just in terms of then moving on to, say, a different set of stakeholders and, say, your clients, have you seen, say, a change in mindset of your clients in terms of whether they look at sustainability?
I think that the change is there. It's slow in the sense that there is also quite a responsibility on behalf of the sustainability sector. The sustainability sector has always been more in the human resources space. I mean, human resources, I think, is what makes a difference between a company that works from one that doesn't. So I'm really supportive about any people or human resources area. What I mean to say is that sustainability has been interpreted as the nice thing to have, Little Red Riding Hood, so not seen as a STEM subject. Sustainability is physical atmosphere, sustainability is mathematics, sustainability is actually geochemistry, chemistry. So it is very important that we bring back sustainability into basically the sort of more hard subjects or more scientific and technological subjects. And of course, there is a lot that we need to do in terms of governance. So HR and the legal part of enterprises is fundamental in order to move on. So again, integration at every level. But yes, there is some reluctances still. There is some reluctances in dedicating the necessary budget for sustainability to advance. And because of what I've just said, that budget is not small. We need to find our decarbonization paths and we need to actually basically perform them. So that can be expensive today, but we are seeing the European Union putting forward a carbon border adjustment mechanism, which will be way more expensive than what we can invest today to solve our carbon numbers. So putting definitely a price on CO2 is also a very important exercise that enterprises need to do internally so that we can actually understand what are the consequences in terms of taxation if we are not investing enough now to try and solve those numbers. So it is a big step change, it is a big cultural change that of, as we said at the beginning, associated a CO2 budget to any financial budget, but it's really what we need to do. And if we do that, and if we try to convince upper management and boards that this is where actually the new business will come from, the new green economy, I don't think that the step change is too difficult to accomplish, but we really need some cultural change and understanding at the basis.
Yeah, for sure. I think, as you said, you can see companies starting to look at, carbon pricing now, but it's really trying to accelerate that across, a larger set of stakeholders. And just, on a final note, I'd love to learn from you, what motivates you to work in this space and, what are your hopes in the near future?
What motivates me? Let me make a disclosure. I do not think that saying that having kids, which I do have and I do love and adore and basically do everything through their engine of happiness, is the right argument. There's lots of people that do not have kids and it's a choice. So it is not only doing this because your direct interest in the next generation is actually in the need of this. I think that it is a matter of understanding when a model has exhausted itself. So the economic model we've currently worked on, which is the one of take, make, dispose, has definitely given us everything it had to give. It's time to basically come into a sort of a reparation of that model, going into a regenerative model. Again, I do not think that circular is enough in terms of a model because this is not bidimensional. We scientists define this as a three-dimensional model, so it's more of a spherical approach in which actually the fourth dimension is time. So again, new models that it's really time to take on board. Maybe new expertise, not necessarily new people, but yes, of course, new people as well, but new roles. We really need to have a low carbon manager in any type of industry. We really need to have a climate analyst as part of our governance. So this all applies for a regenerative movement of creation and creativity within enterprises and organizations. And I used to say, as a geologist, I used to believe that the E of ESG was the most important part of everything we're doing today. I'm absolutely convinced that today governance is the most important one, because if big enterprises are actually changing their governance to accommodate the climate tech or the climate change that we need to accommodate in terms of sustainability and KPI, then we can really move on. So today, enterprises need new profiles or upskill profiles in order to accommodate the change that the planet is asking us, the society is asking us for, but governance is fundamental. So if we can, I believe in progress, I believe in scientific revolution, and I believe in the Nobel Prizes that we're seeing today. They really make us move forward at high speed. So we really need to take on board that change, and this is what moves me. The idea that through all that together, we can really build a different situation for the greater good. And what moves me specifically, and I go back to the point of the families and the kids, is that this has never to be something that helps you personally. You really need to be part of projects that help, as you said before. These are collective projects that cannot find the solution in one human being. This is a common effort of everybody, and that common effort, it's what really moves me. I want to be part of a common effort. I don't want to be part of something which is just for me, my family, and my kids. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, of course. No, that's very inspiring, and I'm definitely interested to keep up to date with what you're doing as well as Globant. But I just wanted to really thank you for your time. It's been fantastic to get to know more about you and the work that you lead.
Thank you, Razann. It's been very interesting to listen to your question, and hopefully our debate will bring something of value to who's listening to us.
Of course. Thank you so much, Elena.
Grazie.
Thank you for joining us. And thank you. Together we can piece together the puzzle of climate change and build together a greener and more resilient world. We look forward to continuing this journey with you in future episodes of the Climate Puzzle. Thank you so much.
Was it easy to decode this suit? Our challenge is to build bridges with all the social actors whose decisions have a huge impact and try to create a more sustainable present and future. The only way to save our planet is by working together. Did you solve the puzzle?